Good. Thank you for coming this morning and being part of our 1 Million Cups community. And one of the things that we do, 1 Million Cups, is we provide a platform for business people and startups to present their business, to help get better at presenting. We also connect within our community, we connect resources. And so we have one presenter this morning, and I'm going to go ahead and introduce her, then we're going to move on to doing something different afterward. So this morning we have Patty Cox from, this is a mouthful for me.
Yes.
This is about connecting resources from the Procurement Technical Assistance Center. Did I get it all right?
That's right.
We just call
Good
it
job.
PTAC.
PTAC.
From PTAC.
Yes.
So Patty from PTAC, and what they do at PTAC, and there are multiple PTACs around the state, but they connect, they help provide advice on getting and procuring government contracts for the small business people. So if you're into or you've ever wanted to do government contracting, make sure you turn up your ear. For me, turn up my hearing aid so I can hear everything and take notes and listen to what Patty has to say. Now, after Patty's done, I don't remember if we gave you the rules in advance, but you've got a full 6 minutes to present.
Right.
And then we've got 20 minutes of question and answer.
Sure.
So
sounds great.
We're going to do that, and then afterward we're going to do something else. Okay? So give a warm welcome to Patty.
Thanks a lot, Sid. Yeah, Sid, I really appreciate that. Last night I was on the deck. I was enjoying a cocktail and chatting with my son, and we were talking about like what was going to happen today, and I said, well, I have to give this presentation tomorrow. And he's like, And I said, well, what do you think I should say to make my presentation interesting and catchy? And my son, in his wise wisdom of 25 years, said, well, why don't you tell him about the time that you swallowed the goldfish? And I said, But also, he was wise to say how you'd have to link the goldfish story to your topic, government contracting. So there it was. I couldn't really think through that too much, but then I thought, yes, when I swallowed the goldfish at a preteen age, school carnival, crazy experience, popped it right down. I don't know why, but it reminded me, that impulsive act reminded me of how a person or a business owner can take a marketing concept or have an idea and start to run with that without any planning or forethought. And that's where PTAC comes in. The Procurement Technical Assistance Center, a big mouthful, is the program of the University of Montana and a federal grant. We provide assistance with market research and helping businesses explore the government marketplace. So I'm a little nervous right now. I don't know, my goldfish is swimming around in my stomach. So the program is funded by a federal grant and is sponsored by the university, as I said, and that's where my office is located. We help, we are funded by the government, so all our services are free. But market research is the key services that we offer. We help businesses do the research to find out if federal contracting is suitable for their business. The government marketplace is different than the regular marketplace. You have to understand how the government buys its products, the cycle it buys on, what they call your product or service. That's one of the biggest questions for businesses, is to kind of, how do you identify what it is that they want? There's a myriad of sites and research opportunities out there to learn all those options. And the mission of PTAC is educational. So we're here to help teach you how to find the target market and learn the steps that it takes to be a successful contractor. We meet with you on one-on-one counseling sessions. We go through the process of teaching you how to learn the research steps, find the opportunities, find the awards so you know, like, who's my competitor out there? How do I learn the best strategy to get my foot in the door. We also provide you with, we have bid matching services and can help you create your pitch to the target market. So in the federal marketplace, there are multiple roles in that arena. And like one example is a small business representative. A small business representative, each agency in the federal level has one, or two or three, and they provide advice to small businesses and act as a liaison to the contracting or the procurement chain. There's a contracting officer. We've all kind of heard of contracting officers. They're the ones that legally put together the contract. They have to make sure all the federal regulations are met and that the types of contracts are designed to meet the requirement of the government. There's program managers. Now those are people that they provide the technical details and technical assistance to the contracting officer. They often spend a big part of their time in identifying what the requirement is and making sure that all the terms are there in the contract so that they get the right product or service. And then of course there's the end user. You might know the end user. You may know the person in the shop or that needs the certain tool, or the lead person at an agency that needs janitorial service. But understanding like who to talk to and how to put your marketing plan together is where we can help to approach all those different levels in the purchasing chain. Also, federal contracting can be kind of complex. There's different purchasing thresholds. There's lots of requirements that are put forth in the solicitations and proposals that they put out to meet the requirement. And you have to be very specific and structured when you respond to any solicitation or make an offer to the government. And sometimes something very simple can like round file your proposal. So what we do at PTAC is we will go over the steps of that solicitation. We'll read through all the requirements and we'll sit with you side by side so you know how to answer those appropriately. And then we also will help you be prepared and get ready. And that's the other complexity of contracting. Both federal, state, and local will help with all those government entities to help you find pathways into the market. But knowing where you have to be registered, how you have to be registered, what type of accounting system does your business need to be a successful contractor, how to read the solicitation and how to respond. Getting all those put together is how we can help. Is that my time?
That is time.
Okay.
That's good. So now
okay.
we've got time for a question and answer.
Okay.
Well, it looks like you get the first question. Turn on. Here we go.
Thank you. Can you give us some examples of some of the businesses that you've worked with and some of the products that they've been selling to the government?
So we, in the state of Montana, this Missoula PTAC covers 5 county areas. So some of the businesses we work with may be in a rural setting. They may have an excavator or dozer. They do stream restoration or plow snow in the winter. They do road brushing. We do a lot of support with the firefighters, so we help them get registered in the System for Award Management, which is the key database that you have to be registered in. Those businesses, it can be of a small business that has a service, such as a janitorial service. We also help like real estate companies do. I helped a client that had worked for about 9 or 10 years doing a federal contract with the Forest Service doing title searches. That business owner is a sole proprietor, and she had been working on this same contract for many years. It was coming up for renewal. There was a new contracting officer, and he rewrote the solicitation, so it changed the way the pricing structure was in that solicitation. So we went over her pricing because it went from a hourly rate to a per item rate. And so she had to do a lot of homework and figuring out how to make it work, you know, to reach her expenses. And then we walked through each step of that solicitation and had made sure that she filled out her technical proposal and her price proposal correctly. Even though she was really familiar with this job and she'd been doing it for years for the same people, she still needed to do all these extra steps because kind of the terms had changed. So helping her through that process was very great for her. She did end up getting the contract, and so she has another 5 years of working on this real estate job with the Forest Service. That's one example. Sometimes we'll help engineers, architects, road construction contractors, general construction contractors. We help large contractors. You know, when you think of a big business that you think they might get all the contracts, you know, someone like Jensen or abatement contractors, for example. They're very large contractors. They're very expert at doing federal contracting, but still sometimes they may have a glitch. There may be something in a system that they have to register for that they don't know how to answer the question correctly, or they don't understand the federal regulation behind it. That's where we come in. I do a lot of research. I will read and search the federal acquisition regulation. I will help define it for you. It is kind of interesting that way because I'm not a lawyer, but I play one on TV, so. So does that answer your question? I kind of went on a little bit there. Got it.
So in 2012, I tried to get software contracts from the government through the System for Award Management, signed up there, and DNB, and tried to navigate that entire process, and was just overwhelmed at the submission process.
Right.
Once I got there, like, how would you help with something like that, or how? Because it was just ginormous and daunting, and going up against companies from all over the place that obviously this wasn't their first rodeo.
Right. So for someone starting out in federal, was that a federal contract? So it wasn't that state. So starting out in federal contracting, it's kind of have to take baby steps. So one of the things that we would help you do is research who has received the awards for similar products that you have. If you have a proprietary software, you have to really understand, is this something that they need? Or do they want to buy my particular one? Or do they want to just have a software that keeps their system going for another 20 years? Because they've already been using a similar one in the past. So getting the government to follow innovation is always a little bit harder. And that's in the IT world, that is a little bit harder. But also understanding what the government requirement is and if your business can meet it. The submission process can be difficult because there's lots of detail to it. And competing with larger businesses or people that have had contracts in the past with the same agency can be difficult, but there's also opportunity there too. The opportunity comes in subcontracting. One of the best ways to enter into the marketplace is to partner or team with a successful contractor or successful prime contractor. And we can show you ways to find out who those people are, how they, when the next big contract's coming up, that sort of research to help kind of prepare your business plan. And no, it does take time. You can't start a business in December and say, or January and say, well, by 6 months I'm going to have 15 federal contracts. It just doesn't happen that way. There are some marketing techniques that are very traditional in federal contracting: outreach, getting to know the people that do the buying, providing a specialized brochure that's meant just for federal contracting. It's called the capability statement. Helping design those are things that we can do.
Cool, thanks. Is it Kai? Yeah, Kai. All right. So Kai's part of his question kind of led to like the David versus Goliath situation in getting a government contract, and you talk about, you know, kind of you do a lot of research and a lawyer, play one on TV. Have you found like loopholes that would make it advantageous for a David to take on a Goliath?
So I don't know if Kai can take on Goliath, but I do know that there are many programs that have been designed by the federal government to encourage more small business to get involved in contracting. The whole purpose of the PTAC program was back in 1984 when it was established by Congress to aid the warfighter and get more small businesses working on federal contracts. Today, 23% of all federal contracts under $150,000 are to be fulfilled by a small business. PTAC can also help you with understanding if you qualify for any of the small business programs that are out there, such as service-disabled, veteran-owned business, woman-owned small business. Those special certifications and programs are things that you have to apply for. So we help you go through the steps of getting certified in those areas. And one of the most recent, we also stay up on the law, so one of the most recent changes, like for example to the Women-Owned Small Business Program, is that now they're going to push it to be a sole source contracting program, not just a set-aside for women-owned small business. And so we can help you understand those set-asides, when it's appropriate for your business, what it takes to qualify to be certified in those small business areas. So, and I guess on the other hand, the Goliath hand, Goliath has to hire enough small businesses to perform the requirement. So for the large contracts that are over $150,000, when you're up in those larger contracts, the large business has to comply with subcontracting plan. And the subcontracting, that has, those plans have goals, and so they have to meet certain goals to hire women-owned, service-disabled, veteran-owned, all these small business people and business types, and some just total small business in order to be compliant with their contract.
If you have a widget or a service and you're not sure whether or not there's any need or anybody who wants that, can you assist the small business owner in determining whether or not there is somebody out there requesting that?
Yeah, what we do when we help with the market research is we kind of try to identify what your product and service is, what the government calls your product and service. That's usually one of the key things to the strategy, is to learn what do they call it and when do they buy it. The government has a specific buying cycle. Sometimes they'll buy services on a longer term or an indefinite delivery type contract, and also for commercial items. So if you sell a widget that's a commercial off-the-shelf item, you can kind of identify maybe when those products are going to be purchased. So the answer to your question is yes, we can help identify that, but that doesn't mean that always the government will buy your product or widget. And sometimes that can be the most challenging part of understanding if it's suitable for your business. We always encourage businesses to make government contracting as part of their marketing plan, not their primary marketing plan. Because you have to be able to sustain the buying practices of the government, which sometimes can be long pay times. It can take a while to secure a contract or an award. And so we help prepare you to be both a responsive contractor and a responsible contractor so that you can be successful. And we do have successes. So even in our small area, in last quarter of earlier this year, before June, there was over $7 million in contracts that were awarded just in this small area here for clients out of this area. So.
Cool. Another question?
You've talked about sort of being prepared for kind of elapsed time in the process to sort of work your way through it. What's the sort of cumulative sort of amount of hours that someone should think about investing in this process? And can you give some sense of sort of the ROI? So if you're going to invest, whatever the number might be, 50, 100 hours, what sort of payback might you expect and over what sort of timescales?
So like any marketing effort, there may not be a guaranteed payback. But we find that businesses that are established, that maybe have a couple of years under their belt and are have strong financial resources, so they're ready to expand, that they can, it can take up to a year or two to secure a contract. And that's by working on it pretty continuously and making sure that you keep learning. Occasionally you may find an opportunity just because you happen to network with someone that needs what you have. And I've heard from other counselors in my network here in the state that they've had businesses that went after a contract and after 6 months they secured a 5-year contract. But that is kind of that's not the norm. It does take kind of a plodding process to be successful. And I would say if you know, I don't know what businesses typically spend on marketing. Sometimes people, depends on what the product or service is, but if you have a pretty complex or a very niche product or service, that will take longer. If you have a common service, such as road grading or construction or janitorial, those opportunities are a little bit more easy to attain.
Right. You talked about one of the main things that you do is educate,
right.
And you do a lot of one-on-one. What are the educational venues you have? Do you do group presentations or webinars or whatever?
Right. Well,
how can people learn?
Yeah, about once a quarter, we'll do some training of some sort, like an introduction to government contracting. From time to time, we'll do a specialized training, such as teaching people about the GSA schedule or things like that. We don't have a program. Personally, I don't have my program. Sorry about that. Plan for this coming year. Our fiscal year just started August 1st, so I don't have all that lined out yet as to what the training opportunities will be. But everything that we do out with groups, we do on the one-on-one basis as well. So people can just call me and we can set up a meeting. I can provide a general orientation. It takes about an hour and a half. And then after that, I would give you some homework. And then we could meet again to do the next step. Maybe it is doing a little bit more research, or maybe it's registering for the system for award management, or identifying which people and which agencies are the ones that you need to approach or do your outreach to. So I think it's best when businesses kind of take it as a step-by-step. It can be really overwhelming if you try to do it all at once, and it's not really possible. So that's the way we work. We'll work with you for as long as you wish. I have some clients that, even though they're established, successful contractors, they still come back every once in a while and have a new idea, a new product, and I've worked with people. I've done this for about 4 years now, but I have clients that have used this Missoula PTAC for 10 years, and they still come back and talk to me and get advice or need help with other things, protest or a sticky widget of some sort. So,
yeah. We have time for one more question.
So are the rules for government contracting, are they ever evolving, is my first question. And if they are ever evolving, are you seen as a conduit for information and ideas going the other direction rather than just passing on the requirements for a prospective contractor? So in other words, do they look to you for, this is the direction we can change, these are the new rules, this is what people are asking for, this is what we're seeing in the marketplace?
So yes, like any law, the federal acquisition regulation always is changing and can be updated. Just like in the last year and a half, the Women-Owned Small Business Program has changed significantly and has had new requirements by the federal rule makers. So we do keep on top of changes, and we have regular professional development training that we do to stay on top of what's happening in the marketplace. But to kind of answer your question about, can you bring something to the government that might help them more? Is that what
Are you seen as a resource for
so
laws or adapting or innovating?
So what happens is that we do work with the agencies. So the contracting officers at the agency may have a question or fulfill a requirement that they need to fulfill, and they can't find enough vendors or things like that. So sometimes we do networking with our clients, so to help them learn more at the agency level of what's needed. But we don't really, our professional association, that's a nationwide association, does have a lobbying arm, and we work to try to continue to improve federal contracting for small business. That is a big push of our national organization. Does that answer your question?
Good, Barry. I like how I said we got time for one more question. You snuck in two. That was very small business nimble. Way to go. All right, hang on just a second. All right. Patty, thank you very much for coming this morning and sharing with us. We want you to have a gift. Take your pick of the desk mug or the travel mug to help spread the word of 1 million cups.
I'm going for the desk mug.
Good. Let's keep it caffeinated.
All right. I will. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it, Sid.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.